Welcome to week 6 of my NFL fan series, and this week is all about the AFC North, the lovely, impeccable, amazingly consistent AFC North. For those of you that don't know, the best team in the NFL is in this division. My Pittsburgh Steelers are in this division. We also have the Cleveland Browns, the Baltimore Ravens, and the Cincinnati Bengals. There has been so many things happening in this division, in the offseason, in the draft, all of these different variations of things, but it is what it is at this point. Yes, I'm recording this after Myles Garrett has already been traded to the Rams, so he is up and out of this division. And then I don't really know what that means for Cleveland. I don't even know what they're doing at quarterback. They just traded away their best defender, so there's that. We'll just leave that where it's at. And then you have the Cincinnati Bengals. With the Bengals, depending on who you ask, they're always going to have a top 5 offense as long as Joe Burrow is healthy, and that is a huge as long as Joe Burrow is healthy. And then you have the Baltimore Ravens with the Lamar Jackson led Baltimore Ravens. I don't know what they have going on this year. I don't really know what the Ravens are doing on offense. I don't really know what they're doing on defense either. They're just kind of there, and everybody has these high expectations of them. This division is also really interesting this year because every team but one has a new head coach, and I don't really know what to make of that. The good advantage for the Steelers is our head coach has actually coached our quarterback before, so it'll be interesting to see if that dynamic matters. The things that used to make certain teams good and dynamic, those things no longer exist unless you're talking about the Bengals. When you look at the Ravens, they've lost their head coach. They used to be heavy defense. Lamar Jackson would figure it out on offense. As of late, I don't know what they're doing on defense. And then you look at the Steelers. We usually grind it out. We had Coach Tomlin. We knew who we were on defense. On offense, we would figure it out. Okay, well, now we have an offensive coach. And then you look at the Bengals. The Bengals just are the most consistent here, but also Joe Burrow being healthy is basically what is going to dictate that team. However, they drafted for defense and they went and got Dexter Lawrence for defense. So that is going to be an interesting dynamic. And then you have the Cleveland Browns, all right? We don't know what the Cleveland Browns are doing. I don't know who their quarterback is going to be. I don't know if they're going to have Shedeur Sanders. I don't know if they're going to do Deshaun Watson. I feel like they're going to start with Deshaun Watson and then eventually Shedeur is going to play. I'm putting Shedeur on the thumbnail because I like Shedeur and he's just going to be on the thumbnail. But I really don't know what is going to happen with the Browns. In this division, in a weird way, I can't believe I'm saying this division is going to come down to probably the best special teams play and who can get a stop when they need to get a stop, because that is how weird I feel like this is going to be. And special teams, making field goals, field position, all of those different things might come into play here. I cannot believe that I just said that for the AFC North, but it actually might come down to that. So who really knows what is going to happen with this division? There's one thing I do know, though. The Pittsburgh Steelers are the reigning AFC North champions, and you can't take that away from us. You know what? Let's just get into some clips for this week so we can see the people that I had the pleasure of speaking with. This is the reminder you didn't know you needed. If you haven't already, double check and make sure that you hit that like button. Make sure that you're subscribed to my channel. If you want to, leave me a comment in the comment section below, and I will let you get back to your video.
So I'm like, but what I'm hearing is, don't worry, EDC has a plan. He realizes that we did not address the center in the draft. We did not address center in the offseason and free agency, but he's going to possibly consider a trade with another team to bring in a center. Okay, yeah, you can bring in a center, but is he going to be anything like our previous center, or is he going to be a downgrade? So I think the ultimate goal for me would be obviously a Super Bowl, because we have Lamar Jackson. We've had him for so many years now. And, Father Time, it's not friendly. It will catch up to you at some point. But that's on the one hand. On the other hand, on the opposite end of the pendulum, I realize you have to give time for a 50-60% new roster to gel. You can't expect. We had, like I said earlier, we had so many players leave us in free agency, and that does break continuity. It does. You can say what you will, and you can do what you may about, well, if they weren't playing, they weren't good, let them go anyway. We had a lot of really good, talented players who left, and to replace them, to develop continuity, to develop rapport and relationship and trust, it takes time. And the problem is, if you start out the season a little rocky, a little bumpy, because, your players are still learning each other, timing might not be pitch perfect like it would have been with a player who's been with you. Now you're looking at the end of the season and you're saying, man, I wish I could take that loss back in week 2. That could have made the difference. And I mean, I'm speaking from last season. That could have made one game could have made
out of the University of Toledo. That team that drafted them went to the Super Bowl the same year. Last year, the Seattle Seahawks drafted a guy. I don't know his first name off point. I just know his last name. His last name Hood. And then the year before that, the Eagles drafted Johnson, the cornerback who that they got now from Toledo. So those.
So the Browns are going to the Super Bowl.
I don't know that.
You heard it here first.
No, I don't know that. I just found that little nugget that somebody told me pretty interesting. One of my
you
guys
would collectively lose your crap. If
I'll go crazy. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know.
Who is this team? Like, what is going on?
Yeah. I was just telling one of my friends when the Browns go to the Super Bowl this year. I don't know what I might do, man. But yeah, one of my friends, Mike, he's a reporter, sideline reporter for the Toledo Rockets, and he texted me that little nugget. He was like, "Browns to the Super Bowl," because he's a Browns fan as well. And I was like, "Bro, stop playing with me." He was like, "Bro, the last 2 players that have been drafted out of Toledo have went to the Super Bowl that same year." So, Mike, if you ever see this, I'm stealing your take, Mike.
I love it. Can you imagine, like, one year, eventually the Browns or the Cowboys have to make it to the Super Bowl, right? Because at this point, they are like the 2 teams that
everybody
like every year, it's like, what are we doing, guys? Yeah. So before you go into the other players, I want to know. So I don't know if you know this yet. Actually, I recorded this video. I don't think it's released yet. But I actually think the Browns had one of the better drafts. Like, I was on board. I was like, I like everything they were doing. I think they got like 8 offensive players, 2 defensive players. I was invested. I was like, this is a great draft. Yeah, so I would like to know, was there anybody day 2, day 3 that you really
Super Bowl? The first thing that they said was, "Oh, he's going to be Dan Marino. He's going to be the only guy that only gets there once." So like, from a Bengals fan perspective, you're kind of used to the narrative of the big media not really liking Joe Burrow, the idea of Joe Burrow as a Cincinnati Bengal. And a lot of it does have validity. Don't get me wrong, because I was on the opposite side of actually the Jamar Chase situation. Me and my partner Zim, we had a very famous like YouTube battle where I was pro offensive tackle. He was pro Jamar Chase, and it got intense. It was very intense because obviously Joe Burrow was a great player, but he got injured that season. So the whole thing about keeping him healthy was there, and it was an extreme of 2 different sides. One person that wanted to pair him with Jamar Chase, another who wanted to protect him because he had been taken out. And, you know, obviously the Bengals went with Jamar Chase, and at first it still looked like it could be a situation where they weren't really treating Joe Burrow's health at the forefront of what was going on, because even though we got to the Super Bowl, why did we lose? Joe Burrow was still getting killed and still getting hit. Yeah. They go out, they fix the offensive line. So now that's no longer – well, it's funny because, like you said, the people that really watch football and really watch the Bengals know that the offensive line isn't the thing anymore. You can easily tell who didn't watch the Bengals last year because they still think the offensive line is bad. So last year, the offensive line is fixed. But the repeated issue, as I spoke to earlier in the show, is the defense. Like, once they 100%. Invested in Jamar, once they invested in T, once they invested in Joe, they really didn't invest in anything on defense, and they tried to get away with trying.
And I thought, why not do something different? So what is this? Season 3, I am now going to be interviewed by the lovely Arthur Moats. I'm going to switch us around. If you don't know Arthur Moats, you should catch us on Tuesday, and every day we do shows, you should just catch us. And yeah, so take us away, sir, and know that I'm nervous.
Well, I am humbled to be here, especially on this side where I get to actually interview you for the fan series. I mean, this series has a long history as well. I mean, we talking last year's playoff run where you didn't just interview Steelers. We saw Texans, we saw Bills, we saw literally every single team. You talk about before the season started. I mean, like, you got a documented history of this. So if anyone is feeling pressure right now, I feel like I have some very big shoes to fill sitting on this side. Okay. So I'm going to try my best to make sure that I ask questions in a manner that a
Even
doctor would, okay?
I'm like, even my posture is messed up. I'm like, okay, I got this. Also, today, like, just for introduction of me, if you don't know who I am, I go by Really Flawed, but you can call me Maple for today's episode.
Hey, look. Hey. So when I watched your videos, because I was researching and preparing for this moment, I noticed that when you're on this side, you don't allow that person to introduce themselves first. No. You do the intro for them. So, ladies and gents, if y'all don't know who we have the pleasure of talking to, this is one of the most diehard Steelers fans that you'll find out there. All right. Not only is she a diehard Steelers fan, she also rock with Texas Longhorns at the collegiate level as well. All right. You can find her anywhere on YouTube at Really Flawed. Actually, anywhere on social media at Really Flawed. And did I mention she has a doctorate, a PhD? Yeah. So not only does she know ball at a high level, but she's also pretty freaking smart too. All right. So, doctor.
If you noticed and you were paying close attention, Arthur Moats did interview me. I was the Steelers fan for the series, and I was so nervous to have this conversation and answer these questions. But I'm glad that I did it, and I'm glad that there's a clip of it and all these things happen, so that's also pretty cool. Just like every other week that I've done this series, Monday through Thursday, every single team will be released at 4 p.m. I will premiere it, and I will also have everybody's information in the description so that you can always find those channels. And if they want a collaboration tag, I will add the collaboration tag, and everything will be great from there. However, I don't know what we're going to get from the AFC North this year. I just expect it to be interesting. There's no Coach Tomlin. There's no Harbaugh. There's a lot of the things there's no Myles Garrett. A lot of the things that we have known for so long in this division no longer exist. So it's going to be very interesting. The other thing is, now I'm wondering, are the Steelers going to be able to win on Thursday when we head to Cleveland? I would love for us to get a win. We haven't won there on a Thursday night, and I don't know how long. So who knows? Who knows what is going to happen in this division? But let me know what you think in the comment section below. As always, I'll see you in my next video.